morning, Mia. Really good to meet you. And what's it like for you watching that experience back?
Lots of fond memories. I loved my time in the process, and, you know, TV shopping was definitely one of the big highlights for me. I loved it.
Was it really?
Genuinely, I really, really enjoyed it.
Because I wonder how much of these challenges and tasks do you come away from thinking, oh, that was awful?
For me personally, there weren't many occasions where I thought, oh God, you know, what I've been able to do now is look back on all 10 episodes, and I'm actually really happy with my performance, so no regrets.
You're consistently strong.
Thank you.
That's why I was so shocked when you went out as number 6. I honestly thought you'd make it through to the final, but it was just that one mistake, wasn't it? It was the wrong decision at the wrong time. Had it been another task, maybe I would have survived it through, but, you know, it's so difficult to get to that final 5, and Jordan and Anissa are really strong candidates, so I think I just drew the short straw.
I mean, did you go into it thinking this would help you as a business person, or is it a door to get into media, or I mean, what was the point of going on? I think if you look at the general age of candidates nowadays, it's a younger audience, and I've grown up watching the show. So from my perspective, I'd always just grown up watching it, thinking, God, I really do think I could do that. I am in the midst of prep for my bodybuilding competitions, so my time is very centred around training and trying to get as much content and insight into that as much as I can. I think bodybuilding is one of those sports that not many people know all too much about, and I think there's a few misconceptions of it. So if I can educate people and bring correct information about the sport through means that I enjoy, then so be it. And whatever comes of it, comes of it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. It's time for tomorrow's newspapers right now. Join us over the next hour to find out why Trump has turned on Zelenskyy yet again, why children can't criticise the government after 8 p.m, and why you'd better move your grandparents up north if you want to keep them alive. I'm Josh Howie. Tonight I am joined by Paul Cox and Steve N. Allen to take you through Tuesdays or Thursdays top stories. I don't know what day of the week is. This is Headliners. I'm like Ron Burgundy. If it says Tuesday, I'm going to say Tuesday, even though it's actually Thursday's newspapers we're doing. But before Thursday's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with... No, it's not Sophia Wensler.
You're not Ron Burgundy.
It's not Sophia Wensler. It's Tatiana Sanchez.
Josh, how are you safely passed that test? Good evening. The top stories this hour. US President Donald Trump has accused Volodymyr Zelenskyy of harming peace negotiations after the Ukrainian president said Kyiv would not recognise Russian control of Crimea. Writing on his website Truth Social, Mr Trump claimed a deal to end the war was very close, but that Zelenskyy's refusal to accept US terms will do nothing but prolong the conflict. Earlier, US Vice President J.D. Vance laid out the US vision for a deal, saying it would freeze the territorial lines close to where they are today. Ukraine has long said it will not give up Crimea, which was illegally annexed by Russia in 2014. In other news, the UK government's borrowing soared to almost £152 billion last year, the second highest in a decade. New ONS figures reveal that's £14.6 billion more than predicted, piling the pressure on already stretched public finances. Economists have said the country ended the year on a poor footing, whilst now hurtling towards further challenges with US President Donald Trump's tariffs. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has signalled the UK could lower tariffs on US car imports as she tries to broker a trade deal with the Trump administration. Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride says it's important to get the right deal as quickly as possible.
Clearly hugely important that we get these 25% tariffs on cars and steel down, but it depends upon at what cost. And of course, at the moment, we don't have a deal. And one of the criticisms I would have of the government is it's taken them a long time, in fact, to even have got in the room with the US administration to start discussing these issues, let alone getting a deal now. So let's wait till we see the detail.
And around 20,000 people have paid tribute to Pope Francis in less than 12 hours since his body went on public view in St. Peter's Basilica. It lies in state ahead of his funeral on Saturday. Mourners flocked to see the late pontiff after his body was moved this morning from his residence at Casa Santa Marta. Huge crowds gathered throughout the day as a lengthy queue snaked its way through St. Peter's Square all the way to the holy door of the Basilica. Prince William will be at the funeral on Saturday, marking his first time representing the monarch at a global funeral. He'll be joined by world leaders, including the Prime Minister and the US President. Now, if you're watching us live on television now, you're seeing live pictures from inside St. Peter's Basilica, where those mourners are gathering as the Vatican expects up to 250,000 mourners at the service for the People's Pope. The Pope passed away on Monday after suffering double pneumonia. He was 88. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. It is definitely back to Josh Howie and the headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you very much, Sam Francis. Have a lovely evening. Oh, every time. So, welcome to Headliners. We're going to give you the best of tomorrow's newspapers with the best of today's comedians. First things first, we're going to have a look at the front pages, see what they've got in store for us. Let's start with the Telegraph. Zelenskyy to blame for peace. We're going to get straight into that one. Daily Mail, back my peace or lose all of Ukraine, Trump warns. Guardian, Crimea is lost, says Trump, as he warns Zelenskyy on a peace deal. Independent, Trump, take peace deal now or risk losing everything. There's a message coming through here, I think. Times, Zelenskyy is key obstacle to peace deal, says Trump. Me think he doth protest too much. The Metro, £2 million Oasis scam, pain supernova. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Hello, Steve.
Hi.
Seems like a little bully's trying to get away with forcing a peace deal, a surrender deal.
Well, that's exactly what it says on the Daily Mail. Josh, it says, back my peace or lose all of Ukraine, Trump warns. The US president issues ultimatum to Zelenskyy as Vance orders Kyiv to forfeit land to Putin. It's becoming incredibly clear that Trump has very little time or favour for Zelenskyy, and he wants peace at any cost to the Ukraine.
Because he's not paying the cost, strangely.
So the idea that they could lose all of Ukraine, that would essentially mean, if that was to be true in some way, that would essentially mean he'd have to financially back Russia to continue the invasion of Ukraine, because they haven't lost. They've lost a lot of land.
I guess he's talking long term.
Yeah.
Without American support. I mean, Steve, obviously you're a comedian, so you know about geopolitical affairs.
Hey, hang on. The guy in charge of Ukraine's a comedian, so far,
that's
next
true.
to next.
That's true. So without America's backing, how long do you think they can go? That's such a stupid question to ask you.
Yeah,
I
don't actually know the answer. But
why did I ask you?
But it's not. I don't think it's as bad as it looked before. Before these rattles started to happen, where now everyone in Europe's saying, like, oh, actually, maybe we should step up and fund things, and maybe we should be sending more of our arms. So actually, it's not like it was before, where America was doing everything. If Trump pulls out, look, it's still going to be really bad if Trump decides to not back Ukraine on this. But it wouldn't be as bad as it looks. I don't like the new message. You're right. It's a quick route to peace by letting one side win.
Yeah.
We were saying earlier on, like, this is, if I were a hostage negotiator, I could really get that done by tea time by just shooting all the hostages myself. You just hear, like, thump, thump, thump. Oh, looks like we're done, guys. And that's what's happening here, isn't it?
That's the analogy. And, of course, there will be people out there who will go, the three of you, you're being warmongers and more innocent people are going to die. Well, there's nothing to stop Putin going further, because the point is that Trump is not offering any actual sustainable peace, because he's not offering an American security guarantee.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to stop Trump going in. Also, of course, the messaging for any other despot out there is, oh, Mike's right, we're going to start a war now because America's not going to step in, so we might as well take Scotland.
And that would be fair enough. But the part of the argument was that, well, there'll be American jobs in Ukraine. There were American people being employed in Crimea.
Hunter Biden.
He had a lot of contacts there. But yeah,
he had a laptop shop, didn't he?
The general repairs.
Yeah. he fixed mobile phone screens.
Right, yeah.
Had too much drugs
Windows Vista update.
Well, we get a really interesting insight, though, into maybe some of the psyche of the American public as well, because I think this type of narrative is backed by a good sort of 40-50% of the American public. In Europe, particularly in the UK and Northern Europe, we've not thought this way, irrespective of where you sit on the left or right. We've always been kind of in support of Ukraine, and for very good reason, because they've been invaded by Russia.
That's the point.
And we see that Russia is the enemy of potentially us as well, because if they can get through Ukraine, they can get to the rest.
What is wrong with Americans? Because I watched Rocky V, and it was Rocky IV? Which is the one where he goes to...
Street Fighter with Tommy?
No, that was a great one. The Russian
That was not a great one. That was the Street Fighter one. Was terrible.
I enjoyed it, but the point... but the point was it Rocky IV then? Right? There was a montage where everyone was very pro-American. We came out of the cinema. Sure, can you imagine watching Rocky IV in America? And now they're supporting Drago.
Some of them
What's wrong with you, America?
Good point. It's
Watch
interesting.
Rocky IV.
But we are
patriotism back.
I guess if there is any balance here, they're financially supporting Ukraine here, and they don't want to do it anymore. And that's what Trump's got in for. You know, that was part of his manifesto, is to stop this war.
They promised. They said, you give up your nuclear weapons, and essentially we'll make sure that you have a country. And now they're backtracking. Anyway, let's go on to the Daily Telegraph, Steve.
Well, they have a picture of Nigel Farage, who seems to be, at first glance, quite intimate with a dog.
Yeah, but that's bad positioning there.
I did.
Deep, I would say.
No, the dog's looking happy.
No, the dog looks startled.
Yep.
He's looking a bit like...
There's only one way to find out that dog's temperature.
It is a face that sort of says, I've always wondered what this would feel like.
It's like, is my prostate healthy?
We say before it looks like... I mean, it's not the kind of thing you do to Churchill. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
But anyway, we shouldn't be talking... I'm sure we will don't want to say too much Farage stuff. We don't want to imply that he is too much of a dog lover. I think that's what we've just done. We should probably back out of that for Ofcom reasons.
He should back out of it. That photo.
They've got the story, Trump, Zelensky to blame for no peace deal. I think that the headline that you had at the start didn't have the word no in it. It's not the first time on this channel someone's missed out an important word like no or not in my time. He keeps going on about cards. Ukraine has no cards left to play. Here's my pro tip. You know, if you famously had a casino go bankrupt, shut up about cards. You are letting other people get an easy win about the joke about your abilities to run a casino.
Yeah, is this Zelensky, you know, Trump's all about the art of the deal. Has he ever met somebody just saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give up my country? It's not a card game.
He may well have done, and I think he's used to railroading through anybody like that.
Zelensky, Farage on that picture.
Yeah, he's railroading Churchill. But Zelensky is not... At no point can Zelensky, whatever his future career might be, or lack of, he at this stage cannot back out. He has to say, we've been fighting now since 2022. In fact, we've been fighting since 2014.
They've lost tens of thousands of lives, innocents bombed, murdered.
Just this week. Yesterday, today, the bus blown up with innocent people on it. He's not going to say, "Oh well, we'll just roll over." He can't.
No, of course he can't. And for the world's sake, as much as anything. There is a story we're going to be doing in a bit about Britishness, because I think it's interesting, just going back to the Nigel Farage photo, in terms of this, everybody's sort of advocating now how British they are. So Nigel has, on first name basis, I've met him, I've shaken his hand, it's a very nice man. I'm basically trying to get out of the... I'm worried now that the bosses might call me and tell me off for talking about our star and his relationship with this beautiful dog. But in a bit, we are going to do a story about Keir Starmer, how he's trying to top Trump. He's not got any dogs, but Nigel's basically gone straight in for here's a bulldog, I'm British, I'm English.
Pub, tweed, dog.
Yeah. There's a story here, South will pay more for electricity in the Miliband plans, kind of an interesting story.
Yeah, do you know what? Even though I live in the south now, I've still got such a northern chip on my shoulder. I'm like, yeah, about time. Oh, I don't know why I'll end up paying more. But the idea is to do regional markets for electricity, where it's not just saying we shall decree that the south pays more and the north pays less. You'd get individual markets where supply and demand would dictate the price. So if you live in a place where population-wise, you've got 3 people on an island in Scotland, but you've got an absolute ton of wind farms. Your supply and demand would be in the favour of the purchaser, whereas in London, where I guess we don't have that, you'd pay more. I don't know, it feels like you'd end up... In theory, the nation saves more money through this. But it just feels like the only people who've been making big savings are about the 3 people on an island, and the really busily packed places will end up paying more.
That's why it won't work. I mean, it's the United Kingdom, isn't it? It's not a zonal kingdom.
No, devolution.
Well, there has been devolution, and look how that's turning out. But we cover a lot of stories about NHS Scotland that have got devolutions.
I think the thing is, the idea is, OK, if I've got this right, you got Steve. I will admit that you're more intelligent than me. I'm not going to say you, Paul. But my understanding is because the wind comes from up north, they're paying money to basically turn these windmills off, the turbines off. That's part of the reason why they want to do this. But really, the problem is, it's the north is stealing our wind. They're stealing our wind before it gets down south. And I think that we need to have all of our all the renewables down here and stop the sun, like all the solar panels down here, and then stop the sun going up north.
We do have more sun in the south, and we've got more wind in the north. What you need then, and this is just, I'm just spitballing here, guys, but don't shoot me down straight away. You get a wind farm in the north of Scotland that gets a lot of wind. You use that power to use a wind farm down south to spin the other way, turning them into big fans, which will then blow wind towards the next wind farm that would make money. I've just solved the problem of not being able to carry electricity in the national grid.
Josh has essentially said there would be a lot windier here if we didn't catch it in the wind turbines.
The north is stealing our cheap power. Is the gist. That's what I got from the article anyway. Telegraph, as always, have a lot of stories, including hospitals defy ruling on trans patients. This goes on and on. Man. I really thought that after Wednesday, the Supreme Court would... go, yeah, women are women and women's spaces be protected. And I thought a lot of people would just be like, OK, great, now we can just move on. Yeah. And it's just, our institutions are so captured that now the hospitals are basically saying, no, we're still going to... By the way, there was a hospital, do you remember the story from a few years ago? A terrible story of a rape on a female ward, and they said, no, it was impossible because there were only women here until finally she obtained CCD footage to prove it was a trans woman on the ward that raped her. And the police wouldn't even look at it, and the NHS blocked it. The whole thing was terrifying, proving why we have single-sex spaces, and now the NHS is saying, no, we're going to defy the Supreme Court.
The language used is terrifying as well, because they say managers and campaigners pledged unwavering commitment to trans people after the judgment. So it wasn't even a new law, it was just clarification of the law. What they've done through that clarification is make the job a lot easier for the NHS. Whether they are idealistically opposed to it is irrelevant.
I suppose, yes. It was interesting when
Steve's going to say something balancing.
Oh, you're right. I'll say something stupid instead. No, I'm going to go back to the serious point, because I think this is where the rubber hits the ground with this. It's about defining the actual terms in the Equality Act. The headlines were all saying, legally now we know what woman means. Well, no, legally now we know what they mean in the Act. They've not changed the definition of words in dictionaries. They've specified what the Act meant. And this is where the rubber hits the ground, that now everyone has to go and use that Act and take it to court. So, yeah, there could have been a trickle down, but it'll only be when people actually start suing using that Act.
Yeah. There's also children face curfew on social media. That's something that's been talked about, but it's an interesting idea. I haven't heard of this curfew element before. I've heard about schools.
Yeah, and apparently TikTok are introducing a 10 p.m. curfew for under-16s, which I assume is built into their app. And obviously they've got programmable switch on and off for parents to do already, I believe. You look at this, you think, do we really want this much control? I think you probably do. It's anyone who's got sort of young children or teenagers will know that the influence social media has, it's very distracting for them. It's also an education tool, but at the same time, they've probably got too much access and for too long.
Yeah, it's not a free speech or any of those issues, because it's about kids. In the same way that before you're a certain age, you can't drink, you can't drive. There are loads of restrictions are put in under a certain age. This should be one of them. I was saying earlier on, I've got TikTok on my phone, and if ever I nip to the loo in the middle of the night and reach that age, you think, oh, I'll just watch one video. 3 hours later, you're still sat there going, I can't stop. I don't know how they do it.
Steve has just revealed a lot of information about himself as he goes to TikTok in the middle of the night.
TikTok, drip drop.
To the toilet, hiding away from his family. And then a final tiny story in the corner. President set to back down on China tariffs. So, this whole tariff thing, it turns out has massively backfired. And now President Trump is going, OK.
Yeah,
I've messed up the world economy.
He's considering backing down on his trade war, and he's focused on getting the best deal for America. He's reframed it as like, actually, I want the tariff that's the best deal for America, just because it was hurting the economy. That's the thing. Pete, doesn't matter about all the other stuff. As much as you might talk about trans issues, the actual people the actual people who are affected directly is nowhere near enough to sway political needles as much as the cost of stuff.
You know what?
That everyone is affected.
A lot of experts. Remember those experts? A lot of experts did say this is a terrible idea and explain the many reasons why. And I'm shocked that those experts, in this case, turned out to actually be right.
What are they on?
Most people didn't back this tariff thing, though, did they? I mean, people that just were carte blanche following Trump and everything he was doing because they loved everything that was going on with Doge. And, I'm someone who likes what he's doing with Doge. But you look at this, and it always looked mental. It always looked mental, and it's not. And basically, if you're just trying to get to China but using the rest of the world to do so, you failed on the rest of the world and you failed on China.
There we go. Right.
What's been won?
Sundays, we have Free Speech Nation, 7 to 9 p.m. We do it in front of a live audience. It's a lot of fun. If you'd like to come and join us in the live audience, scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/tickets. It would be absolutely lovely to see you. Now, coming up, we have more front pages. We have The Times. We also have this fantastic story here. Starmer serves pork pies and patriotism for St. George's Day. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into pork pies.
Yummy.
Starmer, you're going to love it. See you in a couple of minutes.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Can you find love in your twilight years? That's what we're asking this morning. Broadcaster Ryan Mark Parsons and former Conservative MP Anne Widdecombe join us now. Good to see you both this morning. Anne, let's start with you. Is 70 too old to date, do you think?
70 isn't too old for anything.
Oh.
Everybody ages at different rates, both mentally, physically, in the sorts of things they like. When you say to me, is 80 too late to, is 70, well, we might even say 80. It's too late to find love. The answer is just look around you. Lots of people have. But let me say right away, no, that's not an invitation. I've absolutely no ambitions in that area at all.
Ryan Mark, what do you make of it? Do we need to stop putting a bar on ageing and dating?
No, I don't think we should. I think once you get to such an old age, you really should be looking for love internally. I mean, you should self-love. I just don't see the point at 70 years old to be searching for love at that point. I think you should go on holiday somewhere. I think you should find love with the sunshine and a cocktail, perhaps, instead of looking for a man or a woman. I think at what point do you decide that, love is not going to come around knocking on your door? And I think probably at the age of 70, that is when you should decide it's time to give up. I'm 24, living in London. I know how incredibly hard it is to find love. I don't know how anyone who has wrinkles and grey hair at the age of 70, over someone like me, could perhaps find love. I just don't think it's possible. I think it's a nice idea, but I think it's not feasible. And also, I don't think there's any point at that age.
The People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, and thank you so much for all of that wonderful, supportive comments about people online. Was it your say? Was saying how they wanted to come and see us do our stand-up?
Loads of that.
Yeah,
loads
so
of that,
much appreciated. Thank you. Let's have a look at the Times now, Paul.
Let's look at the Times, shall we? I mean, they mentioned Zelensky again. I should mention that from their perspective, saying there's an obstacle to peace deal, says Trump. But ministers prepare a cut to car and farm tariffs to ease US trade is the big story here. Rachel Reeves said yesterday that she wanted to see trade barriers between UK and US reduced as part of the negotiations with Trump. So she's trying very much at this point to try and line up a deal. We're all in a race now. The whole world is in a race to try and do a deal with the US, particularly the UK because of Brexit. And we've got some friction there perhaps with the EU coming our way. But she's talking about specifically here about cars and agriculture. We could do with her helping us out with agriculture in this country by getting rid of inheritance tax. Interesting. Let's go to the peanut story.
Daily dose of
I think it's a better story.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's a better story.
Daily dose of peanuts can help overcome lethal allergy. The plan is, people who've got a peanut allergy, you give them peanuts every day, and 10 years from now, there'll be no one left who's got a peanut allergy.
You can eat Snickers.
They'll be, I think they die. I think that's how it works. It's forced evolution. You make them die off through the lethal allergy. If it's a lethal allergy, then that means you die of it, right? That's the thing that gets me about this headline. If
Unless you survive.
Got a touch of the... Well, then it wasn't lethal.
OK, well...
Do you know what I mean?
You and your big words,
Yeah,
Steve.
but they're building up.
But this is amazing, and this is such an important story, I think, not just for the people who it is fatal for, but for the rest of us, so we don't have to hear about it.
When you're on a flight and they're like, oh, no,
I can't eat peanuts next... That's who... That would be really amazing.
It's more and more regular now as well, isn't it? This is basically force-feeding a little bit of something that's going to kill someone to a lot of people in the hope that in the end it doesn't kill us.
Maybe I'll do my wife's cooking. Oh, that's a joke. She doesn't cook.
Yeah.
So there's
enjoy
also
the food.
There's a picture on the front there of Prince Louis.
Yeah. Gappy birthday.
It's Gappy, yeah. He's missing his teeth in the front there. We believe it's from natural causes.
Could be, but these royal siblings don't get on well, do they? We know that.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's got good hair. Enjoy that hair, mate.
Yeah.
Just let me just say, enjoy the hair, because you know what's coming, all right?
Maybe he's going to get Kate's family's hairline.
Oh, I hope so. Guardian, please.
Guardian, Crimea is lost, says Trump, as he warns Zelensky on peace deal. I know we've covered this, but their take on it... I mean, look, this part might be the bit that's true, uncomfortable, but true. The idea of giving up additional land is abhorrent, and we've been saying it's our opinion. We don't think the plan should be you invade a country, you get whatever you take. But it happened in two phases, and the West dropped the ball by letting 2014 happen and then not addressing it then. So do you know what? I think that bit's already gone. That's been pre-annexed before this war. So Trump might be right in saying
But giving up, the point is that going into negotiations where you basically said you can have whatever anyway, that's not how to negotiate. That is not starting from any position of strength. If we're going back to his stupid card analogy, you've shown the cards, you've given the deck. There's nothing else. There's no game there.
Even walking in saying, like, there definitely won't be American troops on the ground. Let's negotiate.
Now, the thing that I'm surprised you didn't go to, Steve...
Oh, this is the best story.
...is because, speaking of empires, evil empires, we've got a new Star Wars series coming out, Andor, Season 2. It's given 4 stars in The Guardian. That must mean it's amazing. I'm excited. It's a great series.
I'm a big nerd, and if you see my keychain, I've got a little R2-D2 thing on there.
You don't need to look at your keychain. We just look at you.
But, yeah, no, I'm true that I'm a nerd, but... I don't like Star Wars.
Oh, my God.
And the reason I've got a keychain with an R2-D2 in it is because my missus does not know the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek.
Oh, wow.
You like Star Wars, don't you?
And you're still married to her. Wow, that's a good husband.
That's not the story I thought you were going to go to, because there's a brilliant story.
No, you're right. Let's do that one.
Noisy phone users could face ban on transport. So anyone blasting out their favourite songs or TV shows on public transport could face up to a maximum fine of £1,000.
Oh,
yes, please.
Come on. This is great. So you're now a Lib Dem, right?
That is exactly what I am now. I was going to say that. I don't care which party this is. This is one of the greatest policies I have ever heard. Anyone out there who uses public transport knows the problem with public transport is the public use it.
You know, I've been very passionate about not having men into female spaces. But I would say if it's a choice between, men in women's sports and noises on the tube, I think even the most ardent... I think even J.K. Rowling is going to be like, you know what? That's something we got to get on top of. We got to sort that out.
So ridiculous.
It makes no sense. We're living in the time of the best headphones ever. When we were younger, the headphones were these little foamy, weird things that didn't really fit on and attached to your Walkman, and everyone could hear it anyway. You got these amazing quality, and what do people do? Just play it out of their stupid phones. Yeah. But if I saw someone get a £1,000 fine, I would enjoy that moment to the same level that Nigel Farage enjoyed that.
I would film that clip, and then I would play it on my phone in public.
It's £2 grand. It's £2 grand. I'm watching it again.
So we have more front pages coming up through the rest of the show, but we're going to have a look at some of the stories inside the newspapers. This is one of my favourites, actually. We have... Kicking off with the Telegraph, actually, Paul. Starmer has hired meaty Englishman Ross Kemp to show off his patriotism. I trust he offered you the gig first.
He didn't offer me the gig first. I've lost some of the meat for a start. Starmer serves pork pies and patriotism for St Patrick's Day.
Islamophobic,
for
isn't it?
St George's Day. A surging reform. UK threatens Labour's industrial heartland. Sir Keir Starmer has 2 secret weapons to show his love for England: the Melton Mowbray pork pie and Ross Kemp. Now, one thing I would say, it's going to take a lot more for me in particular than him rolling out Grant Mitchell and pork pies to convince me that he genuinely is supporting St George's Day here, Josh. But it's good to see him pretend. He is pretending. This is a man...
You think he's cosplaying?
He's absolutely cosplaying. Far-right thuggery is how he described anyone who would have held the St George's flag last year, so I don't believe him for a minute.
That's about context. If you're burning it down, trying to burn down...
No, I don't think so. I think I think you're right. I know what you're saying, in all seriousness, but I genuinely believe that he has a complete disdain for most English people.
I actually don't necessarily agree with that, because I believe he grew up in an area like just a normal area of Britain. Where did he grow up? I don't know. Sussex.
Sussex, yeah.
It's not like he's some elitist. I mean, maybe he is now.
Sussex is quite elitist.
No, the point he grew up. I believe I've read somewhere that his dad was a toolmaker or something like that.
I don't care what his dad was.
The point is, if his dad was a toolmaker, then he obviously had a van. It's possibly white.
The biggest tool he made was Keir Starmer.
Oh, mate, come on. I think that this is a good thing. There was a time there where we had Emily Thornberry doing the scorn for the British public, and now it's actually like we're going back towards patriotism. Now, he's come up with a phrase here that I've never seen before, which is called, what did he say? He's called it modern patriotism. He's rewritten patriotism. This is the first time you're going to hear this phrase, everybody, modern patriotism. So normal patriotism is bad, but modern patriotism is...
Right.
Super cool.
Postmodern patriotism. It feels like we might be heading face first towards that. Do you not think this is just copy and paste Cool Britannia? Yeah. Where he's had, like, some famous people and some comedians and some things.
Yeah, that was quite cool, though.
Who did he have? He had...
Rob Beckett.
Rob Beckett, lovely. Yeah. He's English. He's as English as Ross Kemp.
Yep.
And
pork pie.
And pork pies, yeah. Like I said, I don't know if that joke was lost, but I thought it was a bit Islamophobic, having a pork pie myself. But you guys don't want to say anything? Fine, you don't want to join in. I don't want to join in any banter.
We're letting it happen. We're letting it happen.
British. But they couldn't top Trump reform. Obviously, Nigel Farage, he was there with the bulldog. What people don't know, if I saw, but the offices here painted everything white, and then we all had to wear red and line up.
Yeah,
it was
the way it should be.
Big day. Yeah, it was a big day. Yeah. So there we go. Right, coming up, we're going to deal with the Express. We also have a bunch more pages where the Reform and Tories are going to join up together. We've also got a bunch more stuff. Now, this might be the point, by the way, when some people go to sleep. Now, I made an appeal last night to people to stay awake because I'm actually redoing my contract at the moment and trying to keep the numbers up because normally everyone's going to sleep. Okay. Everybody stayed awake. I was so grateful. And people came, and the bosses, because they're all asleep by now, but they don't know why. They were like, wow, the numbers are really amazing last night. So keep it up, guys. See you after the break. I'll make it worth your while. I'll start taking off clothes or something, OK? See you in 2 minutes.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've had a little look on your say, and some people are a little bit upset that we've said some comments about Trump that we don't agree with him and his position on Ukraine. And I would just like to say that, yeah, that's how I feel.
I think he's right about the plastic straws. There you go.
Yes,
I
think the gender debate he's been amazing at.
We've never really worked out what your position is on the gender debate.
I think that one's a good one. Stopping anti-Semitism, grabbing women. These are all things that are great. But
mainly
on this
the plastic straws for me.
Oh, is it that you're all about the plastic straws?
We've just seen a very different side to the Ukraine story than the US and the US media have.
Fine. Daily Express now. Let's see. They don't have anything about Trump, do they?
They don't. Not yet, anyway. They might do inside. The truth is, he doesn't have the balls. So this is fired up. Kemi Bade not ridiculed.
She said balls.
She said balls. There have been complaints it was unparliamentary, but I don't think so. I think she had very good PMQs, potentially her best PMQs since she
smashed it.
Leader of the opposition. What this doesn't really go into too much, it does cover it on the front page just a tiny bit, is really what the element of the story is, which is Rosie Duffield. The question was a brilliant question that was asking whether Keir Starmer would apologise to Rosie Duffield, who definitely deserves an apology. And then it cut to her. And she just gave him the dirtiest. So look, he never gave an apology. It was pathetic and cowardly. It could be... You could say anything you like about it, but he's made a huge error on this. He's made a huge error.
Of course he has. Well, I mean, it's not just him. The whole far left, right, loads of people.
Show no leadership
about it.
Sure.
No, that's fair enough there.
The debate about balls not being parliamentary language, there was an MP called Ed Balls. Surely that word has been said in the House of Parliament so many times.
I'm called Paul Cox. In itself sounds disgusting.
I'd love to see that podcast.
Watch me, Paul Cox.
No, Balls and Cox.
Paul and Ed.
And Nick Dixon. Anyway, all right, let's move on to some of the stories inside the newspapers. Daily Mail now, they've nailed the economy. What are leaders going to improve next, Steve?
So they're going to sort out the global warming. Experiments to dim the sun in bid to curb global warming will be approved by the UK government within weeks. What? Look, I love science. I go on about it all the time. But have they never seen a film? I know what we'll do. We'll just scorch out the sun. Matrix, like you're 20 minutes in, that's how it happens, isn't it? So their plan is to, like, spray stuff up there. Great, because now the chemtrail people will be giving them this online. Have you ever mentioned chemtrails on TV?
You're on twice now.
Oh, man. Normally what happens is, as soon as I get to my phone halfway...
Really glad Lewis is not on tonight.
Halfway home, and they always do the same thing. They go, Steve, educate yourself, and then show me a YouTube clip.
My favourite thing about it is it's called stratospheric aerosol injection, which sounds like a film I once watched with Bruce Devlin. It's an incredible phrase, stratospheric aerosol injection. I mean, and you're not going to dim the sun, are you, Josh? I mean, I know you've got your new wind theory, the North are stealing it, etc., but we're not going to dim the sun.
See, speaking of things that I didn't know about, and this is what our audience who didn't go to bed, thank you for sticking around, but they're going to find something out now, and I'm going to tell them right now. Here it goes. Did you know that on shipping routes, the clouds are brighter than usual because of the emittance of the spray?
The sulphite.
Yeah, the sulphite. Yeah. I didn't...
Ships make clouds brighter.
Now, if you're in a pub quiz, you've won.
It also means you can fix this global warming by having lots of ships everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can't see any problem with that at all.
Well, I think that I'm
a lot of ships.
Really, really interested by that. Let's move on to the next story. Telegraph, Steve, and good to see the London Marathon that keeps encouraging fancy dress.
Transgender runners can compete in London Marathon as women. Participants will be able to self-identify. Not in the elite sport, and we all know the elite sport one already. Some Kenyan person's going to win it every single year, isn't it? But for the non-elite ones, the mass participant ones, they've not made their minds upon this, even though there's been a court ruling. And I suppose this is, as we were saying, this is not where the rubber meets the ground. You're going to have to wait for someone to sue. And someone will use the Equalities Act, and then it'll change. But until then, someone's put forward the idea of having, like, 3 categories, like the toilet theory. That you have your men's, your women's, and your transgender category. But as you say, half of the people running the London Marathon seem to be dressed up as a panda. I dress up as a Fiat panda.
As a female panda.
That makes a big difference, yeah.
Yes,
Is it not just a case they've been slightly caught off guard by the ruling last week, and perhaps all the organisation that's gone into it? They've already made their point that they're going to, because it's in London Marathon, so they're going to be inclusive, which is obviously not exactly, it's very exclusive.
Which means exclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
Not inclusive to women.
Not inclusive to women at all, inclusive to men only to some degree. But look, I just think they've been caught off guard here. I don't want to defend them in any way, because I don't think they should be doing this. But surely common sense prevail next year.
But the point is they've been caught off guard because they didn't make the right decision before now.
But also, if you have one rule for the elite runners, why don't you just copy and paste it
for
the others?
And that's a recognition that if they're doing it for the elite, then they recognise there's an issue, right?
Yeah.
That's the point.
That's a good point.
Elite, the women who are training for just the regular women training for the marathon, they don't deserve fair sport as well? That's not fair.
That's not what fair means. The closest that I was reading the whole thing, and they defined it as being like a single-sex space, and you think, do they think we're not doing it in a space where it's very much outdoors? It's a big space, but you're right. If the rule is there for the elites,
The good thing is, though, about the marathons is that they don't have the same issues with toilets that everyone else is, because men or women, they're just going to pop down and just... So that's... at least they don't have that issue.
You've solved the toilet problem. We all do it.
Well, no, they tried to do it last week when they protested in central London. All the men were like, we're going to wee all over the place to show that we are actually women.
Mark the territory.
Maybe that's the problem. No one ever thought about that, but maybe that's what happened. Paula Radcliffe, she might have started this whole men weeing around because they were like, I want to be a woman, I want to be like Paula, I'm going to wee in the street. No one ever thought about that.
Winkles for women.
No, fair enough. Let's go on to the Telegraph with a story about a man getting too involved. No, that's actually not. Oh, yes, this is actually another women's sports one, but I didn't know Ian Wright had transitioned.
Yeah, so this is Annie Aluko. She is accusing Ian Wright of blocking opportunities for women in football punditry. For those who aren't aware, the context here is Ian Wright does a lot of commentary within women's football, and Aluko I'll come to that in a minute, because I think there's some good reason for that. She's saying that there's just a limited amount of space. He's taking that up, and he should be thinking about it. Now, She's arguing that the reverse isn't true. I watch a fair amount of football. There are a lot of women commentators now commentating on men's football, Championship, Premier League football. I think what the producers of any programme have done here by using Ian Wright is they're trying to attract probably male viewers to watch women's football. There's a reason for it. They're attracting people across. He's also very experienced and very good. So he's been a big supporter of women's football in this case, but he's been criticised by someone who is regularly very critical about these things.
This is mental. It's like we've got loads of women, as you say, whatever they're called, commentators.
Commentatrix.
In men's... she's totally fine with that. That's not a problem. But, hey, get a man into women's sports. Suddenly he's taking opportunities away. What about the opportunities for men? For, like, poor old footballers who now aren't getting paid millions and getting to do what they normally do. What about them, eh?
They want to waffle. They do a podcast. But you're right, the headline, the use of the word blocking is out of order. Like, blocking women's opportunities feels like he made a call. Don't hire her. No, they just mean, like, he took the work. And he should think about it is implying he should just quit. Quit more and leave more space for women. Yeah. It's a bit harsh, isn't it? That's how you thank an ally.
Solution is, of course... men's commentators for men's sports, female commentators for female sports.
And a third category
for... yeah, absolutely. Yeah, OK, very good. Right. Telegraph next. Israeli diplomatic missions around the world will be appearing on Free Speech Nation this week, Steve.
Israel deletes Pope Francis' condolence tweet. Oh, it's kind of awkward because, you know, if you hadn't have sent a tweet saying condolences, that's kind of fine. I haven't tweeted anything. It's not even called tweets anymore, but I haven't thought I need to get involved in saying some stuff about the Pope. No one needs to know what I say. But to post one and delete it is a bit awkward. It's like when Google used to have the motto, don't be evil, and then got rid of it. No one else has that motto, that's fine. But if you've stopped saying don't be evil, no one thinks you're going to be evil. And it's because he's got a bit of a track record of seeming a bit pro-Palestine.
He's a pro-Pal Pope.
Pro-Pal Pope. But he's also a dead
people's pro-Pal Pope.
He's a dead one now. So maybe when people die, you say a nice thing and just don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, it's not a good look, as you say, to sort of say, so, you know, may his memory be a blessing, and then sort of...
yeah, we didn't mean that.
I mean, they should have left it up. I assume that Netanyahu had something to do with that taken down. But the context definitely is that the Pope basically come out and he said, this was back in November 23, so a very short time after, this is not war, this is terrorism, aimed at Israel.
It's like, mate, it's a war. It's a war.
So he played his cards. Probably got some of Zelensky's.
I've always, I've been a fan of this Pope because he once said that atheists can get into heaven, which, as an atheist, meant nothing to me. So
don't even want to go.
I can get into
by the way, I just got to say, many Christian allies of Jewish people. I've been shocked by many Christians' support of Jews in the last.
Our man is a Jew. You know that.
Who's Jew?
Jesus.
Oh yes.
Our man.
Okay. Thank you so much for that little bit of juice-plaining there. Right. You might be tempted to go to bed, but then you wouldn't have found out that Jesus was Jewish. We'll find out. He's going to tell us about Muhammad in a second.
He's not Jewish.
He'll be on his own if he does.
Definitely want to come back, see if we're going to get cancelled for there. See you in a couple of minutes. Please. Contract.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's quite a mixed picture across southern Europe as we go through the next couple of days. Western parts mostly dry, but in the east we have some heavy, thundery rain. There's the risk of frequent lightning, some large hail, gusty winds, and rainfall totals of around 50 to 75 millimetres in just a few hours could cause some flooding. Like I said, though, further west, a lot of dry weather, and here it is going to stay mostly fine as we go through the next couple of days. In fact, across the Canary Islands, we're going to see our temperatures rising into the high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Here's your GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will still be a few lingering showers for a little while yet, but most places will turn dry overnight, and with some clear skies in the west, it will turn a bit chilly for some. Currently, we have high pressure to the north and to the south, and low pressure both to the east and the west. As a result, we're in something called a col, under which our weather is going to settle down, and so we're seeing most of those showers dying out and clearing away. That being said, there will be quite a bit of cloud overnight across eastern and some southern parts, and this cloud could bring a few spots of rain as well. But under some clearer skies, particularly towards the west, things are going to turn a little chilly. Some prone spots may see a touch of frost, and there could be a few patches of mist and fog developing too. But as we start tomorrow morning then, a fairly cloudy story across many southern areas, perhaps a few glimmers of brightness across Devon and Somerset, and also some parts of Wales. There should be some sunny spells, decent amount of sunny spells across Northern Ireland, northwest England and central and western Scotland, but the further east you are, the greater chance you have of those cloudy skies, and with that the greater chance of a few spots of rain, but nothing especially heavy. Now as we go through the day, through the morning into the afternoon, I am expecting some of this cloud to break up and burn away a little bit, but it is going to linger in a few places, so it is going to stay quite grey for some areas, particularly across central southern England, some eastern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, a bit of sunshine developing, and if you get this sunshine, well, it's not going to feel too bad. Temperatures peaking in the mid to high teens Celsius. But we have some cloudy, wet and blustery weather pushing in from the west later on, and this is going to affect particularly Northern Ireland as we go through Friday, but also fringing into western Scotland and maybe western parts of England and Wales. Further east, a fine day, plenty of decent sunny weather on offer, and that's the case through this weekend. Towards the northwest there will be some rain at times, drier towards the southeast and warm too.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to Headliners. I promised you a treat if you stuck around to the very end. Here it is. Come on, guys, you can join me with your Mediterranean man. No, you're welcome. No,
No.
All right, then. All right, we'll get there. We'll get there in the future. So let's go with the Daily Star, please.
Shall I? Well, it's an Oasis story. Plunder Hall. The story is that £2 million worth of money's been nicked from the fans, and they've got Plunder Hall like Wonderwall. Quite a good pun.
Oh, yeah.
Because earlier on you read out the headline of the Metro, which went with £2 million Oasis Scampaign Supernova. Took me a while to get one. It's all right.
Bit convoluted.
I think other options, I've written some down. Some might say that's a bit of a rip-off. Half-priced the world again. It's a bit of a stretch. Don't look back at your bank statement in anger. No, their ones were better. But I spent a bit of time Googling it.
Fair enough. Right. We're going to go on to some of the newspaper stories inside the newspapers. We're going to go with the Times, Paul. And is the Pope Catholic?
He is, I believe. Most cardinals, though, at the Vatican are gay, says Catholic academics. This is Rick Torfs.
Is the Pope Catholic?
Rick Torfs here, Professor of Canon Law at Catholic University at Leuven, which is Belgium. He said this on Belgian TV. He said, a paradoxical situation remains. On the one hand, homosexual relations are considered sinful, but on the other, a significant percentage, probably the majority of cardinals, are homosexual. I mean, I guess it's something we've all suspected, but it's not a really cool way to out all of the cardinals, is it?
Maybe, they like purple.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know, I'm trying to make some sort of thing. I mean, so what? Who cares?
Yeah.
They're gay.
If you're religious and therefore you consider your own sexuality to be a bit sinful, you might be more likely to repent more than others by going into the church. Do you know what I mean? You work harder to correct what you see as a sin. But it's not a sin to be gay, though, is it? No, but I think they might think it is.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no, of course. I'm saying in religious terms, it's not maybe it's a sin for them to act in it or something, I don't know, but, like, for them to be gay, it doesn't seem like that. That's not a sin in and of itself.
Well, they don't talk favourably, particularly the Catholic faith, about man-on-man action, Josh.
OK, well, fine. What's interesting is that they sort of talk... I won't repeat some of the words. The Pope here, People's Pope, Pro-Power Pope, repeated, but he said something that he kind of caused a bit of an outroar a couple of years ago, where he's saying pretty derogatory stuff about gay people. He's talking actually about sort of the atmosphere in the Vatican of what he terms gayness, I guess. But you can imagine that it's a lot of blokes and they're getting together and they're a bit pent up and they probably get a bit catty.
Is that you think that's what he meant?
Yes, I think that's what he meant.
Maybe he does. Catty. I mean, the idea that all these men are together and
doesn't make you gay. I can be catty. That's not gay people don't own cattiness, right?
True.
Irrespective of their cardinals or not, they're going to have urges. You stick them all together, those urges are going to get played out.
I saw a video online. Anyway, carry on, move on.
Final story, very quickly here. Jojo Siwa, not a lesbian. She's non-binary or something.
Right, so...
Big brother.
I feel like a judge saying, what's a Gaza? Jojo Siwa says she's not a lesbian and she makes another honest confession on CBB. Someone had to tell me that Celebrity Big Brother. So she was a lesbian,
Catholic?
She's not a lesbian.
Catholic?
She's Schrodinger's lesbian.
Yeah.
She's both that and not, and she dates someone who's non-binary or...
She was pansexual.
Unfortunately for her girlfriend, who's non-binary, so still up for misgendered, is on the outside watching her fall in love with a man.
Doing some flirting. Fine, fair enough.
And he's a cardinal.
Right, so let's go and look at some of the newspaper front pages again. Thursday's front pages. Telegraph, Zelenskyy to blame for peace. That's according to Trump. Daily Mail, back my peace or lose all of Ukraine, Trump warns. Guardian, Crimea is lost, says Trump, as he warns Zelenskyy on peace deal. Independent, Trump, take peace deal now or risk losing everything. Times, Zelenskyy is key obstacle to peace deal, says Trump. And the Metro, £2 million Oasis campaign supernova. That is it for tonight's show. Thank you very, very much for sticking around to the end. I hope that my chest was worth it. Thank you very much to my guests, Paul and Steve. I'm going to be back tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Kerry Marks, Nick Dixon. If you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, stay tuned for breakfast. Bye, 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 bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Here's your GB News weather update from the Met Office. There will still be a few lingering showers for a little while yet, but most places will turn dry overnight, and with some clear skies in the west, it will turn a bit chilly for some. Currently, we have high pressure to the north and to the south, and low pressure both to the east and the west. As a result, we're in something called a col, under which our weather is going to settle down, and so we're seeing most of those showers dying out and clearing away. That being said, there will be quite a bit of cloud overnight across eastern and some southern parts, and this cloud could bring a few spots of rain as well. But under some clearer skies, particularly towards the west, things are going to turn a little chilly. Some prone spots may see a touch of frost, and there could be a few patches of mist and fog developing too. But as we start tomorrow morning then, a fairly cloudy story across many southern areas, perhaps a few glimmers of brightness across Devon and Somerset, and also some parts of Wales. There should be some sunny spells. Decent amount of sunny spells across Northern Ireland, northwest England and central and western Scotland, but the further east you are, the greater chance you have of those cloudy skies, and with that, the greater chance of a few spots of rain, but nothing especially heavy. Now, as we go through the day, through the morning into the afternoon, I am expecting some of this cloud to break up and burn away a little bit, but it is going to linger in a few places, so it is going to stay quite grey for some areas, particularly across central southern England, some eastern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere, a bit of sunshine developing, and if you get this sunshine, well, it's not going to feel too bad. Temperatures peaking in the mid to high teens Celsius. But we have some cloudy, wet and blustery weather pushing in from the west later on, and this is going to affect particularly Northern Ireland as we go through Friday, but also fringing into western Scotland and maybe western parts of England and Wales. Further east, a fine day, plenty of decent sunny weather on offer, and that's the case through this weekend. Towards the northwest, there will be some rain at times, drier towards the southeast and warm too.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Happy St George's Day and welcome to GBN Tonight with me, Christopher Hope. Coming up...
Your question is completely misplaced.
That's what's on the table.
I'm really appalled.
Stay tuned to find out what made Nigel Farage so appalled by my question.